Okay, this is my review of Star Trek Picard, Episode 5, titled Imposters, Season 3, final season. And wow, right off the gate, another strong episode. For those you've seen my previous reviews before, you would have seen that one of my worries about the shows is, is whether or not it would stay strong from the remainder of the start, from episode 1 to obviously episode 10, which is obviously the season count for this particular season. So it's gonna obviously it's 10 episodes, and as before, so far it's still staying pretty strong. We start off with what we see is the bridge crew, which is kind of great that we kind of see them kind of mingling, which in Star Trek of late we haven't kind of really seen. And then we see, for some strange reason, we see then Jack in a Starfleet uniform, which is right off the bat, alarm bells start to ring. But then this does foreshadow certain things that are going on. And all of a sudden he does something to the actual crew, and then already you kind of realise that something is completely up. And then right off the bat, we realise that he's having these visions again. Whether or not they're actually visions of something that is to pass, or if he's having just weird dreams. But yeah, throughout the episode we start to see some really weird things going on with Jack. So anyway, obviously Picard now is wanted to be questioned by Starfleet, obviously, for his actions. And then Picard ends up, the person who ends up they're getting sent is a very familiar face. For those of you who watch Star Trek The Next Generation, you will have recognised the character now, who's now is a commander. And I'm going to be honest, usually you hear about leaks about certain guest stars that are going to star in it, sorry. And that one I did not see coming, because the actual character that was in The Next Generation, I thought we had kind of seen the last of that character. And it was kind of really nice that they brought in a legacy character in there, and who's got ties to Picard. So that was kind of great. And obviously, as we know, that we've got the changelings that are now trying to sabotage, are already in Starfleet and trying to sabotage everything. And obviously Picard and his ex and this particular person, so I don't want to spoil, don't know who to trust. And obviously there's a bit of bad blood from how things ended up from many decades ago between these two characters, and why the particular character left. And obviously they don't know who to trust. Beverly Crusher then does an autopsy on the changeling body, who, for some strange reasons, people may know from Deep Space Nine, when changelings die, there's two things that happen. They either completely disintegrate, or they change back into their gelatinous state, the jelly-like state. But for some strange reason, it's still taken the form of its previous host, or previous copy, which was Ensign LaForge. And it's still got, so, and that's kind of I thought it was kind of funny when Beverly asked her to identify the body, and she looks, and that must be really weird seeing your own corpse on the bed in sick bay, and then she having to throw up. But then what's really weird is that the actual thing copy of her has actually got internal organs, whilst it copies. So now, as we know that in what they used to do in Deep Space Nine, that whenever they wanted to try and find out whether someone's a changing, obviously you would have to cut your hands, obviously, and then blade. And that's one of the ways of finding out or whether or not you're a changeling or a real human being. But now it seems that the changelings now have either evolved or learnt to master that now. So trying to find out what's a changeling and who is it now is going to be a much harder task. We then see Picard, and well, just before this, I thought it was kind of really funny, where we see the interaction with Captain Liam Shaw, who's now being put back as captain of the Titan, and then we've got him, Riker, and Picard, and then obviously Picard says that he'll take whatever punishment that that's coming along, and he'll take it on himself, and not to blame Seven of Nine or Riker. And then I thought it was funny when Shaw says a joke about the stuff that Picard and Riker's done in the old days, and he mentions something Star Trek Generations with something that happens in there, which was kind of really funny. He mentions the events, something happened in Star Trek Insurrection, and then the one that I didn't expect to mention was what happened in the Star Trek Next Generation season 7 finale, All Good Things Parts 1 and 2. He mentioned the joke there. I thought that was funny. I really Captain Shaw, he's really growing on me. I just love his dry, sarcastic wit. That's something unusual that we don't see with the Starfleet captains, where they seem to play it by the book, and they sometimes have no personality. And you can definitely tell that his character's got a predator. I've said it before that I would love to see his character get a spin-off, or I hope it's not the last time that we don't see the character again, because I really would love to see. He's kind of really grown on me. So if anyone from Paramount is listening, you kind of make this happen. And the actor is a really big Todd, the actor who plays Shaw. He's a big sci-fi and a big Star Trek fan as well. So I think that comes across as well. Then we also see Raffi and Worf, which again we didn't see from last week's episode, but we get lots of nuggets of stuff between these two characters. And what I'm liking about the two characters is not only is the chemistry between the two characters, but they seem to have a lot in common when it comes to like having problems with their temperament. Well, Worf used to, and it's just seeing the chemistry between the two characters. It's kind of, well, it's just they really gel together. So they try to contact the handler to investigate more what's going on, but then they've been told not to. But then at the same time they've been told that they should investigate. So now they investigate. They go back to that planet, which everybody fears them, but then they get captured. And Worf and Raffi think they've got the upper hand, but then actually haven't. It's quite clever what they try to do. You see something from Voyager, a device from Voyager, which people will recognise. All I'll say is the Doctor, so you'll understand what I'm talking about if you've watched the episode. And then what I think is the first for Star Trek is it's the first time that I've actually seen a Vulcan mob boss, which is kind of very unique. And then trying to use logic in explaining what he's doing, which is kind of really odd. But again, well, it's odd, but then by the explanation of his logic, for him it kind of makes sense. And then also something happens to Worf, and then Worf goes into badass mode, which is the Worf that we all love to see. And I think that's what makes the chemistry between Raffi and Worf work well, because as I said before, not just the temper, but in terms of the fighting and that aggression, and then the way they are, they've got a lot in common. So I think the actual pairing of the two characters has been a complete stroke of genius. And then obviously we go back to Picard and the commander, and then obviously there's a tense standoff. And I would say that the acting between Patrick Stewart and the particular actress who you recognise and know the character she's playing, it was completely brilliant, where you could see the anger and the anguish and the emotion and the actual tension just oozing from the actual scene. And that was kind of great. So eventually, obviously, Picard gets news from Beverly Crusher as to kind of what's going on with the state of the corpse that they have in sickbay, with the changeling corpse. So they have to basically, so the commander basically tells Picard what she's really up to and what's kind of going on, and the conspiracy with Starfleet and what's kind of going on. And then it's hard to trust anyone, obviously, because we know that the changelings have basically infiltrated Starfleet, and obviously it's revenge that they want with by looks of it, with the Dominion War and what's going on. So it kind of feels like a sequel to the Deep Space Nine stuff that's going on. Hopefully, I'm hoping that, because obviously we've got the changelings and all that stuff involved, that maybe that we do see maybe some cameos from some Deep Space Nine characters, which I don't know if they'll do, but you know, we can only hope, and maybe even some Voyager, and maybe even some more legacy Next Generation characters, because I mean there's been quite a few. I didn't expect this particular person to actually appear, but I probably will spoil it at the end of the episode who it is, because we've got that spoiler part of the way. And the person basically tells Picard that they've basically taken off most of the crew off the Titan, and they've left with a skeleton crew. And then she basically tells them to run because she doesn't know who to trust on her ship. I think it's the Intrepid, I think it's called. I'm not 100% sure, so people can correct me on that. And you know, so basically she, you know, she gives well, I just said she, the commander gives Picard her earrings, and you think that's a bit strange as to why that person's kind of doing that. Obviously, obviously in the beginning, the person didn't beam to the Titan. They used a shuttlecraft, probably because they didn't trust anyone. And then basically they go, and then as the commander goes back into to the shuttlecraft and is about to head back to the Intrepid, communications have all gone. They've basically sabotaged the actual shuttlecraft with a bomb, and then basically she can't beam off or disarm it, so she basically sacrifices herself to save Picard. And I would say that because of the particular character in general, the actual emotional anguish on Picard's face, it was superbly acted by Sir Patrick Stewart, and you can tell that. And then when they had one final conversation aboard through the viewed screen, you could tell obviously that this character, the character in question, really meant a lot to Captain Picard. And as I said before, I will reveal who the character is at the end of the episode, at the end of this review, so it won't to spoil it too much. And obviously the person sacrifices himself, and then you find out that the reason why the person Picard got given the earrings, because there's information on there, because the person was doing some research on what was going on with what's going on with Starfleet, well, the changes, and there seems to be a lot more of them on board. And then it's a battle of wits between the Titans and the Intrepid, I think it's called. And basically, Captain Shaw has to make up his mind whether or not they should stay or flee. And obviously, they're attacking them. So obviously, they're gonna try and obviously blame the Titan for going rogue. Well, that's what I would assume that what their master plan is. And then they basically disappear. And then we go back to Jack. Obviously now, in the middle of the episode, 7-9 gives him a uniform so that he can blend in with the crew. And obviously, as I said before, that what happened in the beginning of it, you kind of think you say, "Hang on a minute, we saw him in a Starfleet uniform," and next minute, four changelings beam on board, and they're after him. And the next minute, he kind of zones out and then takes them all off. Well, takes them all out, should I say, in one move. Which was absolutely awesome, but then scary, but strange in a certain way, because you don't know where all this come from all of a sudden. And then obviously he's throughout the episode he starts to have visions or certain things of things happening, but they're not actually happening. But then what I did like is that instead of rather than eventually just keeping it to himself, obviously it's been going on for the last couple of episodes, he eventually goes to his mother, Beverly, and tells her that he's not all right. So probably the next episode, we're probably going to find out still maybe a little bit more as to what's going on. And then obviously they get Picard and Riker get a transmission from somebody, and it's Worf. And then they find out that the handler was the actual commander. Obviously that was Picard's friend. So that's basically how the episode ended off. But I just really enjoyed this episode. It was a strong episode. Again, as I said before, I'm hoping that the remainder of the 5 episodes are just as strong, and we get a good strong finale as well. So it ends up with whether or not we do see the Next Generation crew again. But it's kind of a really, really interesting episode that was kind of going on. Very emotional, with certain scenes with particular characters. Still a lot of drama as to what the hell is going on. What was stolen from the Daystrom Institute, we still don't know. which is kind of weird, or what the changelings' mass plan is. We know that which partially is revenge, and that teleportation device that they're using, you would have thought that would have been the main thing they're after, because the amount of damage that thing can do. And it did to those the staff headquarters, and also even to the Titan itself. But that's not even the main weapon that they want. We didn't see any of the villain Vadik, or Vidic, as it were, depending on how you pronounce it, in this episode. Obviously, her ship's still damaged, but probably we'll see some more of her in the next episode or two, because obviously her ship's damaged, and obviously she's going to want to go after the Titan now. And with the changes now, going to be ramping up their efforts in going after the USS Titan now, because now obviously they know the truth. So yeah, that was Star Trek Picard episode 5, Imposters, season 3, final season. Now, this spoiler alert is as about the fact the commander that was sent to interrogate Picard was a character called Ro Laren, played by Michelle Forbes, who was in a few episodes. It was in, I don't know what season of Star Trek, it may have been season 5, and then she was a Bajoran, and then and I know that the Starfleet people on board the Enterprise didn't like her, and then in the end, like, she ended up joining back up with the where those terrorists. And then obviously she explains why to Picard. Picard wants to know how the hell is it that did she end up getting back into Starfleet. So she basically explained what happened. But as I said before, some of it was a rouge. Some of it was that she had anger with Picard, and some of it was a rouge, because not knowing whether or not that she could trust him, and he was a changeling. And as I said before, I was not expected to see her character again, so I'm hoping there's still a hope that we'll see Thomas Riker, Will Riker's transporter duplicate again. So, you know, again, I didn't know that she would be in it, so seeing it, because there was no leak on it as far as I know that I saw on social media. So for me, seeing it and watching the episode and seeing the character just appear in there, it was just completely just fresh and new and kind of unexpected. So I'm really hoping that with the last 5, as simple last 5 episodes, as we're halfway through season 3, that maybe we do see some more cameos or even legacy characters from the Star Trek, from the Next Generation, and not just Next Generation, maybe even Voyager and even Deep Space Nine. But yeah, that's my spoiler alert of the character. As I said before, she was Ensign Ro Laren, and now she's a commander, and obviously she sacrifices herself to save Picard and the USS Titan, which was a shame. I mean, personally, I wouldn't have ended it like that, because it would have been nice to see a character pop up again if they ever make another series set in that timeline. But you can understand why I understand why they did it, but it's just a shame that they got rid of a character. Only the fact that we haven't seen that character for so long, because originally the writers wanted Michelle Forbes to carry on a role in Deep Space Nine, but I don't know if she didn't want to do it, just wanted to do movie roles. And then instead what they did was that they rewrote the character as Major Kira Nerys instead. So yeah, it's just a shame, because she really is a good actress, because I've seen her in other TV shows and movies. One of the biggest ones was 24. She was really good in that. And I remember her character falling down the stairs and going into a coma, where she got pushed. And they never did explain what happened to her character 24 after going into a coma, whether or not she woke up or not, or she died or not. And obviously we're probably not going to get 24 any more 24 stuff anytime soon. So yeah, that's my spoiler part of Star Trek Picard episode 5, Imposters. So I think looking forward to episode 6 next week.